6:30, I call this regular scheduled meeting of the Jarrell Economic Development Corporation Board to order. Let it be known that Will Mello is not present, but excused. So if we would, Tanya, if you do such a good job with the invocation, would you be happy to do one? I didn't mean to surprise you, but. If you would stand, please.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening asking that you provide us with your vision for Jarrell. May we listen to our citizens, listen to the needs, and may we have a healthy relationship with all the parties involved, those that want to do business and with the Economic Development Corporation, with the ISD, with all entities. May we form a partnership that moves us forward in a path that only you can provide. We ask that you continue to lead us and guide us in all that we do, and put your hands over us. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Did we have any public comments? No? Okay, then we will move on. I am going to suspend the current meeting. We're going to go into a workshop because this is our first meeting with all of us together. I just kind of wanted to open up the session for discussion. And, I know that Will had sent out a memo with some questions. I think they were very relevant that we should probably talk to and answer. But before we get to that, just as an information only, I've asked Aaron Farmer to come in. He's with the retail coach. I had met Aaron a few years ago when I was still the mayor. And again, talking about this very good set of demographic data as well as economic data. So Aaron, please give it to us.
Well, appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yeah, everybody should have a presentation in front of you. My name is Aaron Farmer, president of the Retail Coach. I'm somewhat local. I'm not far from you. I live in Dripping Springs, work in Austin, so somewhat local. Spent a lot of time in Jarrell over the last 5 years. I'll tell you a little bit about the history, a little bit about our firm real quick, and then our history with Jarrell. But what we do at the Retail Coach is we help communities identify what their retail opportunities are, especially fast-growing communities like Jarrell. We help you understand what are those retail opportunities, right? So what types of retail could be successful here? What specific retailers and restaurants could be here? And then we actually, we do the market analysis that was mentioned, and then we actually go out and recruit retailers, restaurants, developers to the market here. So I mentioned this, but if you look on that third slide, I guess it's the fourth slide there, where it says the Retail Coach plus Jarrell. We've actually partnered with Jarrell since 2020. So back when right about the time COVID happened, I think it was right around that time, we were hired to work with Jarrell to, again, do that analysis, understand how many people are here now and how many people are going to be here in 5 years, 10 years down the road. Back at that time, it was we worked with even way back in 2015, we worked with another superintendent at the school district that they were struggling. How many kids are we going to have here 10 years, 20 years? Looking at long-range planning, those sort of things. We sat down with the city at that time. I think at that time, Charles Ashby had brought us to the table from a real estate standpoint. But since then, we started working full-time in 2025 with the city, and we did that analysis. It's really hard for demographers. It's really hard for anybody to understand this market, understand how many people are here right now, but what that growth is going to look like. And not just in Jarrell, but in the surrounding area. I mean, I've seen a map that shows within about 50 miles of Jarrell, and there's subdivisions, there's houses. Y'all seen the map just for here. And it's amazing there. But we put that analysis together. We've updated it every year since then. Updated it. I don't think we did it in 2024.
No,
we did not do it in 2024. So we did it 2021 to 23. And then we went out and we recruited. So we represented Jarrell at trade shows to retailers, restaurants. We made phone calls, emails, those things. We've actually had a lot of success here. So quick story, but everybody knows Dairy Queen. That's one of the top performing Dairy Queens in the entire state of Texas.
Oh, wow.
The first day that I came here, to actually start working for Jarrell. I saw that site. A friend of mine was repping that site out of Boston. I said, how is there not something here right next to the Jarrell Town Center gas station? And I called up a friend and said, hey, are you willing to sell that? And they said, absolutely. Well, the next day, we put it in front of the real estate director at Dairy Queen. They were out here a week later looking at that site. It was under contract. I think at our firm, that's the fastest deal that's ever happened. So back then, there wasn't much here, right? So that was one of the first ones there. So now it's one of the top performing. I know it's within the top 5 or 10 every month. So that was a pretty neat success story there. We've also worked closely with Taco Bell. We've also worked closely with Starbucks that came in, and some of the others that are coming in are already here or are coming in, and even some of the ones like AutoZone. Y'all know about Shipley's Donuts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped on that.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
I hear good news, and it's like, wow.
that same friend of mine does leasing for the Jarrell Town Center gas station, and Shipley's is going to take a spot there. So Shipley Donuts is expanding rapidly. They just opened one in Dripping Springs last week, actually. So we have a long history with Jarrell. It's been a good one from our perspective. I feel like, and obviously I preach this to our clients, but you have to have somebody out there advocating for you to bring retailers and restaurants here. You can't just rely on these site selectors to say, hey, pick out somewhere in the map, we're going to come to Jarrell. Now, there's going to be some that come in, but with the amount of people that you have here already, you need to see more. You need another grocery store, okay? You need some of those larger stores as well to come in here and just serve that population. Your people are driving to Georgetown on a regular basis. One of the things, and we can flip to that next slide there, but this is a little bit of our process and what that would look like if we get to continue working with Jarrell. We do everything, like I said, from analyzing that market to determining the retail opportunities, all the way to identifying those prospects. So who should be here that aren't here? Recruiting retailers and restaurants. A to Z, we do that. If somebody comes into your office or into the city or EDC in the next week or two and says, hey, we're looking to come here, but we need an incentive. We also do incentive consulting as part of this. And a lot of those retailers, especially as we start talking to some of the larger ones, they're going to want to know, what can you do for us? So whether it's the H-E-Bs of the world, the love them or hate them, the Walmarts of the world, those sort of things, they're very good negotiators, and they're looking at this market pretty heavily right now. We flip to that next slide, you'll see where it says mobile location data. It's pretty amazing the technology that's out there now, but we're able, and I know it's a little bit hard to see with the printing there, but we're able to tell where customers come from, where they come from to shop and eat here in the community, and who traverses through the community there. So we use cell phone data. So it's scary to think about, but if you have a cell phone, we know where you're coming from. We know your zip code. We know how often you're shopping at Brookshire Brothers. We know how often you're going to Dairy Queen. We know how often you're going to Starbucks. So we use that cell phone data to develop that market analysis data that was mentioned there. If you flip to that next slide, you'll see what we have determined as the retail trade area. Now, as we go out and we talk to prospects, whether it's retailers, restaurants, developers, about this market and why they need to be here, this is where this polygon that you see on the slide here, this is where you're pulling your customers from. So we were able to tell that from that cell phone analysis, people from Salado to the north are coming, out to Holland, Bartlett, Granger, down to like the Serenata area, down obviously Wahlberg, Florence to the west. That's where you're pulling your customers from. As we go talk to some of these retailers and restaurants, that's where that customer base is going to come from. So if you flip to the next slide, you'll see, I guess we actually did do 2024 data. 2024 trade area is about 63,536. So forget about the city limits population, how many people live in this immediate area. You're really serving a market of 63,500. What that, I can tell you just by driving around this afternoon, you're underserved. People are leaving on a regular basis. I won't make you raise your hand, but you just can't buy everything you need here, right? So the data looks good. This is something that also stood out to me on that same data section there. Your average household incomes have gone up dramatically. So your average household incomes in this area are now over 100,000. They're 116,490. When we started this about 5 years ago, they were way less, a lot less than that. this is getting the retailer's attention. This is getting the restaurant's attention. When we spoke to the I think it was the council or I can't remember who it was, but at the beginning I mentioned Starbucks. I said at some point Starbucks is going to start looking out here. People laughed at us because they said, not here. We don't have anything. They're not going to. Well, now look what's here and what's coming, right? And so we put together a full profile of this market. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've had several people reach out to our office. The last couple of months, I mean, we've had several people reach out to our office asking for updated data on Jarrell. So some of those retailers and restaurants that I mentioned earlier that are looking in this market, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out what those numbers look like. So we do that as well. You'll see a demand analysis on that next slide there. So instead of just providing demographics to these retailers, to these restaurants, developers, they want to know more than just the demographics. They want to know if we locate here, what is that potential? What is that opportunity? So we look at roughly 80 different sectors, and we identify for each sector, whether it's sporting goods, whether it's general merchandise, whether it's grocery, we identify what is the demand today, and then we project out what is that demand going to be in 5 years. Now, this is actually from a 2024 demand analysis that we ran for Jarrell, and you'll see the far right column there is the compound annual growth rate. Well, we hope to have numbers in the 1s and 2s. Every single one, or not every single one, but most of your sectors are growing at about 3 to 4%. So what that tells us is the growth's not slowing down. People are going to continue to spend money. That opportunity here, that's going to get the retailers and restaurants interested. There were a couple of categories in there, like sewing, needlework, and piece good stores, which I don't know why we even include that in this report anymore, but they're negative. It's just people aren't spending their money on that, or they're buying it online, I guess. So the numbers look good there. I'll wrap up here pretty quick, but if you look at that next slide there, what I wanted to point out is how important it is not just to provide data and analysis to these retailers and restaurants, but we also have to provide sites. So if we're working with a site selector for a retailer that's in Oklahoma City or one that's in Florida, one of the first things they have to do if they like a community is they have to come here. They have to find a site. Well, where we help in this process, working on your behalf, is we identify sites for them. So if we're working with a retailer that we know needs 10 acres to do their location there, we're going to go to them and say, hey, we've done the work for you already. Here are the 5 10-acre sites that fit your criteria. And what that does is that speeds up that recruitment process. Even though it's a smaller one, use Dairy Queen as an example. The fact that we had a site for them got that, again, through the process faster than I've ever seen. So providing sites, having an understanding of that, that's what these prospects are looking for. On the next slide there, you'll see where we talk about identifying retailers and developers for recruitment. I have a few on there that you can just kind of see, some that we've talked to in the past. A few of those are actually in the process of looking to come here. But we target the ones that are fits, right? So, hey, you might not be a fit for Target just yet, but hey, maybe down the road. So let's not waste our time going after Target because we know they're focused on more denser populated areas. Let's focus on some of these that are fits. The next slide there, you'll just kind of see some of the ones that have located. In many more have located here or over time, but down on the bottom right of that page there, you'll see those 5 that are on there. Those are the ones where we were the first contact. So we were the first phone call, email to them, and then they've since located here. You'll see the kind of that hardware store on there right now. Found out they were here 2 weeks ago looking for a site. So a lot of really good things happening here. If you'll flip to the next slide, we also develop marketing materials for you. So being able to have marketing materials when somebody walks into the office here, having marketing materials that we can send information out to. In the past, we've actually developed a retail dashboard for Jarrell that had all of this marketing information. It's kind of a one-stop shop. So if while we're in this meeting right now, there could be a developer on the Jarrell EDC website or on the city website or somewhere else. This was a one-stop shop for all of that information. It had sites on it. It had all of these reports. It had that trade area information. So that would be part of this process. Would be updating that as well. A few more slides. We also will develop. I talked about how important sites are. We're going to put site profiles together. So we're going to identify those sites. We kind of bring it, bring it back down to a one pager so that when we send this information out there, it's got everything that the prospect would want to see. Next slide, we actually will work for you at these trade shows. We represent Jarrell at trade shows. That's where we met a couple of these that actually ended up locating here. Had a great relationship with Taco Bell. Met them at the Austin Retail Live Conference, and they were there touring with us 2 weeks later. So it's just about getting in front of them. I learned it a long time ago. It's not all about what you know, but it's about who you know. And that's what we bring to the table is the analysis, but also the relationships. We do monthly update calls with our clients, sometimes even sooner than that as needed. But if we do get hired by you, we would have updates for you at every one of your meetings, so that I wouldn't physically probably be here at every meeting, but we would have we would probably have a written update for you at every meeting, and then we would come occasionally to give you updates in person, especially as we're working on larger projects and those sort of things. And then lastly, I talked about it already, but we're here to help. So coaching and ongoing support is an area we can help. So as you have a developer come to town, as you have a retailer come to town, and they come in and they're throwing all these words out there and talking about development agreements and talking about letters of intent and those sort of things, that's where we would come in and help from a coaching standpoint, help secure that deal, help move it through the process. Might involve incentives, help with the incentive negotiation and those sort of things. So that's all part of this approach here. But I went through that pretty quick, but
you did wonderful.
That's our process. And like I said, this has been, there's obviously been a little bit of turnover throughout the community, but we've been kind of tried and true the last 5 years, and I think a lot of your retailers, a lot of your restaurants, especially your brokers, developers that are out of Austin, out of other areas, they know to call us about Jarrell. I think that's why we received so many calls recently for new data, for putting that information together. But we'd love to answer any questions if that's all right.
Sure. Have any of you got any questions for?
Are you currently working with the city now or not?
We're not. So our contract expired with the city. I don't know the exact date, to be honest. It's probably been 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
It expired. We were working closely. I think there was, throughout that transition process, they had us working with the EDC director, even though it was through the city. So we were doing update calls, one with the city, or one city representative and then one EDC representative. We were doing update calls that way. But the contract expired, and yeah, that's where we're at.
I think it's great. The city's looking at it and trying to people use it on that. Has anybody ever been to ICSC, Vegas, or Red River? Well, chicken with your head cut off. If you don't know what you're doing, he's been. I've been.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the best thing to have somebody.
So I think the discussion point here was, and again, I dealt with Aaron prior to us having an active EDC, just because of the analytics that was available to us. Since I found out that the contract had expired, I called Aaron and said, please come back out here again, because I think if we're gonna be an effective EDC, we need to have this data, and it needs to be controlled by the EDC, okay? Because it's ultimately, and Aaron brings up a good point, he can help us come through going, look, these guys will come, but you need to take a look at these kinds of incentives for them, okay? And then they can negotiate it. So he's actually operating as an employee of the EDC, and for the contractual purposes that we need. And so then all we need to do is to put it together. It's either going to be a full-blown just an EDC thing that we can rock and roll with, or if nothing else, we can get the other sets of analytical data and then make recommendations to the city council where we see that we need to do infrastructure improvements to get these items in here. But it would be my recommendation is that the EDC take over the contract from Aaron on a go-forward basis. I'm not saying we have to. I mean, that's a vote thing we go into, but
I agree, but I'm questioning whether this is within the purview of an A corporation or more so a B corp. Because A is primary jobs. We don't do retail, so I don't know that this would fall under a household.
well, the one of them is jobs and or growth. By the way, there have been some modifications to the differences between the A, B, and many of the old B functions can be done now in A. Okay, it's not as tight as it used to be. And certainly we could review that on a go
Yeah.
forward, as to whether or not we're doing, hiring recommendations or whether we're doing site recommendations. But the city of Jarrell does not have a B board anymore. We collapsed it and moved it into a roads account. So they're getting the fair share of the sales tax dollars that go in there. But our EDC group has been utilized to put infrastructure in place. You can't run a 5-mile long water line, okay? But there are, if it's related to bringing jobs in place, they now allow the A Corps to be able to do a small amount of infrastructure improvement in the areas that are there. And if we get into it, obviously we'll need to get deeper into which ones we can do.
And I'll speak to that a little bit if you'd like.
Good, yeah.
So we do a lot of work with A corporations, and really the lines are blurred now on what's a primary job. Have you seen how much Buc-ee's is paying? No, I'm just kidding. But
Right.
I would say probably about 40% of our clients are type A organizations, and what it is nowadays development, it's not typically just retail development, right? So you're seeing mixed use developments and other developments that incorporate all of those in there. So just about 40% of our clients are type A, and that's allowed through that marketing budget that you have. So typically when you're hiring a firm like ours as an EDC, you want to pay for it out of that. Don't take it from me, but out of that line item. I used to sit on the economic development board, so just a little bit of my 2 cents there.
And I appreciate all the information that you shared here, and certainly
Sure.
know that those new businesses are doing well here in Jarrell, because people want to spend their money here in Jarrell.
Right.
Our community wants to live and work here, and they also want to make sure that they're visiting businesses to give back to our community.
Sure.
So I appreciate that effort. What other communities have you worked with in this area?
That's a great question. So Waco is a client of ours, so obviously that's north of you. We've worked with Georgetown in the past. We're not currently working with Georgetown. They seem to have their retail and restaurant, they seem to have that under control. I've been with the firm for 18 years now. So those are 2 that I can think of there. Out to Marble Falls, if you've seen the growth that's happening in Marble Falls. Marble Falls is a client of ours. Hutto was mentioned earlier. Hutto's been a long time client of ours. Taylor is another one that we've done a lot of work in. If you've been to Taylor recently, it's growing rapidly. So those are some in the region. I mean, we work down in Kyle, but a lot in Central Texas. With this being my home here, I try to work as much as I can in Central Texas. But those are some of the examples there.
There is I'd have to go back and find it, but there is an ordinance that was passed that the 4A can serve as a 4B here.
I knew they came out. I said the lines are really blurred anymore. They used to be really. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to interrupt. Go first. Next question.
Well, so there's been some questions in the community because on an exit sign right there on 35, everybody probably knows this because it's the Chipotle. Have y'all seen that? It's already on an exit sign going into Jarrell. Have you heard about that?
I do. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, but you've not, or I don't know, maybe.
So I probably shouldn't confirm nor deny, but
Okay.
I can confirm that Chipotle has been looking.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the developer of that is a friend of mine. So.
Okay. Can you confirm HEB? Just kidding.
I will tell you this. I'll be honest with you. HEB has been to this market many of times, as y'all know. I've been out here several times in the past. One time with a representative from them, just talking directly about Jarrell. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think what we need is some analytics and some other things to help maybe speed up that process a little bit. They're great land bankers. So even if they buy land in your community, they don't know how to build for 10 years, right? And so you gotta kind of spur them on a little bit. But them and some others similar to them have been looking pretty heavily.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Got anything else you want for Aaron?
I wanted to add one other thing. Is that okay?
This is a workshop.
We talked about the trade shows and how important those are. I just wanted to give you all kind of an idea, it was mentioned, been to an ICSC, just to give you a little bit of idea what that looks like. So these aren't typical trade shows where you kind of walk the aisles and, you know, pick up the goodies, and I've been to the super, yeah, so I've been to that before, and, this is different. We set up meetings ahead of time with retailers and restaurants that are gonna be there. They have these booths where they've spent $100,000, $200,000 on these booths. We have to start setting up meetings ahead of time. What I was gonna mention to y'all is our next trade show coming up is in May. So it's the ICSC Recon Conference, or it's in Las Vegas. Crazy to think we go to Las Vegas to sell Jarrell, but that's where you meet with retailers, restaurants, developers. I know this could be a long-term project for y'all, might be down the road, but I would encourage y'all to be ready for these trade shows coming up. So ICSC Vegas, again, that's coming up mid-May. There's gonna be another one in August in Austin. And what I was gonna recommend on the Austin one is maybe y'all send a person or two to that conference. It's a half-day conference, really a full-day conference at the Marriott in downtown Austin. So I was gonna mention, in the past, we've had some representation from Jarrell that have come, and it's always good to have an EDC contact there to meet somebody that we're talking to about coming here and make that relationship there. So the May one is coming up quick. We've got some really, really good meetings set up ahead of time with the grocery store that was mentioned and a few others that you want to try to, the May one, August is the Retail Live in Austin, and then there's one other in January, and that's the ICSC Red River Conference, and that's up in the Dallas area. And those are the main ones that I think Jarrell needs to be most focused on, or what we would be focused on for Jarrell. So just wanted to mention that.
No,
When you go to those, when you go to those, do you take a video of Jarrell? We made one a couple years ago about what Jarrell looks like, a
Sure.
little bit about the demographics and the opportunity. Do you have
So-
a copy of that?
So I don't have a copy of that. I think I remember seeing that. I don't, maybe I can find it, but we typically will get 15 minutes or so, or maybe 30 minutes with the retailer restaurant. So what we typically do is we'll keep it pretty simple. We'll take, you know, a front and back flyer with information on Jarrell. If we have time to show a video, we'll have our iPad there, we do it.
Okay.
If it's a couple minutes long, it works perfect, but you get about 15 to 30 minutes, but the key is the follow-up after the conference. So that's where we would send even more information. Do y'all still have a map? We worked closely with the planning director several years ago on a map that showed where all the subdivisions were coming in and the housing.
I know which one you're talking about. If we can get the damn plotter working, we'll get you another one.
Yeah, those are incredibly helpful to take. I mean, that's what sells Jarrell, is just showing how many people are coming in and that the incomes are going up and those things, but a video would be helpful as well.
Okay.
We used to send our EDC huddle with zip drives,
Yeah.
and they would pick them out, and so you have a display, but they could also take that thing.
Take it with them. That's the key. You want to give them something they're going to take back. If you take them a big packet of information,
Yeah.
it ends up on the trash on the way out. But if you can send them take them a zip drive, or even just follow up with an email with that information. I like to do it the same day or the next day, so they have it and it's top of mind. So the reality is y'all are competing with not just the communities on each side of you. You're competing throughout the country for these retailers and for these restaurants. So whatever you can do to speed up that process, get them those sites, get them that information. That's what speeds up the process.
Good. Nice to remember. Good. All right, anything else for Aaron? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll let you know.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, have a good one.
You bet. Thank you.
Are y'all okay if I leave?
Yeah, oh yeah, you're
Yes.
I didn't want to
we'll call you.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. So again, in the part of the workshop, because this is our first full meeting, the other part I wanted to cover was just going through the bylaws. Bylaws are pretty simple. I mean, there's 6 pages total that's in there. There's no big limitation, just basically the biggest ones are that we serve at the pleasure of the city council. We're responsible for getting a budget done. We're gonna have to take a look at that. We need to have it done here in the next couple of months. And that I think will just be prime more discussion to what we want to do to go in a go-forward basis. But the same one will be I think the biggest one is that for everything we decide to do, we have to declare a project, and then we have to show what the expenses and what the positive outlays are going to be. I don't think it's overwhelming in any way, shape, or form. It's just a formal thing we're going to need to do. For those of you that are officers, I think it states in there what your responsibilities are and who you, you know, and how it works into the organization. It's pretty loose. I mean, if you get 6 pages in there, that and we follow the city's fiscal policies, okay, which are taken directly out of the Texas statutes for general law cities. So there's nothing that relieves us of any probabilities that we've got in there, but there's also nothing that suppresses us that the city couldn't do, that we couldn't do within the city boundaries that we've got in there. So I didn't know if anybody had a care or concern about it at all. The other one I wanted to get into, because this was brought up a couple of times in meetings, was the previous budget. I think we passed that in your information sheets that went in there. We've got a budget report in there, and this is as of end of March, right? So the end of Q2, that's the one you got in here?
It should say it at the top. I thought it was December.
No, it says March 31st, 2025.
Okay.
Is it correct, Christie? Is it up to date as of
It is a 30
March? Okay. So if you take a look at it, I mean, I think there's a couple of highlights we can take a look at. We'd have budgeted originally the sales tax due to the corporation at about $484,000, and we're halfway through the year and we're already at $246. So I think what we're seeing is just the growth of sales tax revenue within the city. The city should be seeing the same thing. The one that I will talk to too is the amount of interest that was in the budget has nothing to do with the amount of money you've got in your balance sheet. So if you look, and I don't want to get too far in this, but I want to let you know that we've got some resources that we can spend. If you move back 3 more pages, you'll see a balance sheet account summary as of March 31st, 2025. You see that one on there? Got that, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you take a look at that, we currently have just slightly less than $1.4 million in the bank. Okay. So there are funds there to do things that we need to do. The budget as it exists today, there are a number of these programs that are in here that we probably would do budget amendments in zero amount, because they don't have a current rationale for being there. And I'm not saying that we can't spend money on other stuff, but there are things that are in there. Well, obviously one of them is that we've got the administration side. You've moved the money to do the final.
We're gonna do that tomorrow.
Okay, so if you remember the last meeting we had, we agreed to the payout that's there. Once that money is moved in there, then other than whatever Diane and Christie are going to chew us up for as far as support, that to me is free money. So I guess what I'm saying is that not only do we have that money in there, but out of the current spend, which was going to be about $381,000, I would doubt seriously if we would spend more than 2 max out to the end of the year, because we're already halfway through. So I would ask you to take a look, is in looking at that budget, what kinds of things would you like to add back in? And I think it should be a free-form discussion. I mean, it could be something as simple as renting a small office in one of the places that we've got and moving out of City Hall. I mean, that's the kind of possibilities that exist. It'd be rather expensive because we'd have to do phones, we'd have to do all the rest of it, but it also would give kind of a freedom for you members of the board to be able to go in and talk to somebody without having to be constrained to the foyer and being allowed into places that are there, and which is not bad. But it basically is just going to be your vision of what do you want. The other one would be of taking a look at Do we want to hire another executive director right now? Or do we want to take a look at rediscuss what the needs are for a person that do the day-to-day administration, knowing the limitations that we have in the city? Because obviously bringing somebody that is a big city economic development coordinator into Jarrell, understanding that we're only 24 years old and we don't have all of the water lines and wastewater lines that are there, that's a completely different operation than somebody coming into, you know, Georgetown or Huddock or whatever else, and you've got acreage that has been bought. You know, we don't have that luxury right now, so we kind of.
However, I feel like, for me, we absolutely need a director, in my opinion. And so that's the person that, to me, so yeah, the city's way back here right now.
Yeah.
If you got this vision to get up here, you need the right person here now, in my opinion.
Yep.
That's working that goal. And so having a director that's got the experience to grow a city and to negotiate deals, to work on water lines and sewer lines, work with the schools, and I think that's what we need, you know. But I think you get, in my opinion, with economic development, you get one shot to do it right. And if you get too far behind the ball, it's heck to catch it up. And so I would prefer that we have a strong economic development director in the city that's working with the city's vision and our vision, and with our partners, the schools, the water, was building that program now while we're still young and we have an opportunity to do things right, get a vision, and really plug along with the stuff in place and make it work.
Diane, have we got a job description for the executive director?
Yes.
Can I ask you to email that to all the members of the board? Please
Sure.
take a look at that. Maybe by the next meeting, I'll put that in as an action item, is if we decide what we need to modify with that job description. And then if everybody's ready, and I don't know of any reason, I know none of the rest of us have time to show up every day and do EDC stuff. Then what we can do is identify within the specific skill sets that we've got in there, what it is that we want to go out and pay for, and then we can begin the recruitment, okay, of the person that understands, you know, exactly what we need to do, okay? So if you're okay with that, then what I'll do is ask Diane to mail that to us, and then when we meet at the next meeting, we can, we'll just put that as an action item, and we'll decide what the new job description is going to look like, and if we get it completed, then we can begin a discussion of, you know, who are we going to go out and open up a job opening, and we'll go for it. So I'm excited. That sounds great. Okay, all right.
Is there any issue with having our meetings here at City Hall?
No, there's no problem with it at all, okay? In fact, I think it's kind of nice. The difference would come in is that if we had an executive director and they're in this building and you wanted to come in and talk to your employee, you gotta come to the foyer or call them on the phone, okay? And it's not that you won't be allowed in there, it's just it's kind of like if two of us wanted to go down and talk to the executive director. And I'm not saying that we have to have it, I'm just saying is that there may be the potential to unburden the city with this person more directly. And I'm not hung up either way with it, you know.
With the police department moving out, is there a little bit more room in the building now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't think it's a question of space.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not it, it's not we're running out of that, you know, it's just a different critter, it's not really a city. But, you know, they've always been supportive, Diane's always been supportive of whatever number of executive directors we've had in for EDC, you know, and they've got access to phones, they've got access to computer, they've got access to photocopiers, you know, they've got people that can take phone calls. I mean, there is a high degree of advantage of being in here and paying the city for that stuff.
Even if it's, keep bringing Hudlow up, but that's what I know.
No.
Even at the size they are, they do that today, so they don't have offices, the city handles their finance, and they just have a management agreement or whatever, and the
Yep.
city pays.
And that's what we have right now, we have an administrative agreement
Yeah.
with the city that we review every year. Do we have a copy of the administrative agreement?
It's a very old one. it's been brought up on the agendas to revise it, but it hasn't been, so it's the old one.
Would you do me a favor? Would you get a copy of that and send that to all of the board members? So, we might as well take a look at at the administrative agreement with the city and figure out what we want to add or what we want to take away, Certainly the fact that we've got somebody there and they have somebody like the city manager to serve as a person of influence and power within the city to do stuff would be an advantage, so I don't have a problem with that.
And the collaboration, I think. is
Oh,
also
yeah,
very-
absolutely. I think the more that we get the constant influx, because we would expect the executive director to express the will of the EDC board, okay, and then take back from the city manager
Yeah.
why we are going to get it, or whatever it turns out to be. So,
One of the items on here, I know Diane does so much right now for the EDC, and so appreciate you. And both of you do. But I'm hearing you say, Diane, can you get those things? I don't know, is that, so, just want to make sure that you're on here.
down in that line item 5006903 administration
Okay, so she's a.
for $172,000 a year that we pay.
Oh, we pay them? Oh.
Yeah.
That was for the EDC director.
Yeah.
So, but that agreement we need to get out there. So certainly Diane, as the city secretary, is the repository of all of the formal documentation that's existed, both with the EDC and the city. Okay, so I have used and abused her for 17, 18 years now. Just because she knows where all that stuff's at. So we're going to get the most current one, and I think that would be. But I agree, getting it and then deciding what we might want to update on that contract would be a good thing to do. So,
Just want to make sure it's okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
yeah. And I appreciate her too. I just don't tell her that very often. So, okay, so trying to get out of this workshop, Will had sent us some questions. I think you all had looked at them. I don't know that we need to address them in the workshop, but certainly the things we've been talking about are very similar to what we're going to do on a go-forward basis. Okay, so we were talking about, have we got one or two short-term wins we can achieve in the next 6 to 12 months? I think it might be, especially if Aaron's got something that's out there. Are we aligned on what types of industry we want to prioritize? I think that's a discussion all of us need to have, because there are some industries that we would favor to come in, and there are some industries that the city would not favor to have come in, and so we just have to, play it by ear. Workforce development programs, partnerships, I think that's just an ongoing discussion that we'll got out. Certainly we have the money from an EDC point of view to support or establish any form of, development programs or relationships either with the school district. If we could utilize some of her trained personnel to hire them to do some workshop work for us, that we could then bring the citizens of Jarrell in to do that one. I think that would be a wonderful idea. We keep the money local and we get a bigger bang for the buck. So.
And it's easy too to partner up with the Workforce Development Commission.
Oh, yeah, I think we ought to ride the school district hard and put them away with it,
We can bring them in, they're begging for opportunity.
Well, and Dr. Higgs is more than willing. She has always been more than willing to.
Very much so.
We work with them all the time.
Yeah. And I think we ought to do that. So, then his last one was, what's one thing that could make us more competitive as a small growing city? I think that one's just gonna be recognizing the opportunities. So part of mine is going is if we can get the retail coach to help us identify what's there, and then help identify not only what people can come here, but what things we need to do to get people out here would be a great one. Okay. So while we still got the workshop open, is there anything that anybody else wants to? Yeah, Joe.
Yep, I got one. The second item that Will had on the alignment between the industries and prioritizing. what's the chance, or how do we go about meeting with the mayor, meeting with the city council, kind of get their direction, what their vision? I mean, from where I stand on the water side, of course, as you mentioned earlier, you know, I look at more of a retail, residential, heavy on the residential because the volume of water.
Sure.
Commercial retail is great, because it brings everybody. If we get a good commercial, a platform there and the homes will come, we get a lot of homes there, it'll come. So it plays back and forth very well. But, worked with the city council off and on for the last probably 6 years, starting to get to know the mayor, and Tanya a little bit more in the last 6 months and everything. But I'd like to really have a better understanding, you know, what would they like to see? And of course, the retail coach, for me, would be excellent for knowledge. I would like to get as much information from him. I've talked to a lot of people that he's mentioned. I've had 3 different meetings with HEB just for the Jarrell Sweater side of it, trying to pull them in here. But it's, you know, water's only one of the many things they look at. They want to look at, you know, taxes and demographics and everything like that. But I would like to be able to sit down with the mayor and the city council, kind of get an idea what, what kind of balance are they looking for? So it'll help me when I sit there and review this stuff, and so I feel more comfortable. I'm in line with them because I'm working for them, and I want to make sure on both sides water, but also make any overall decisions.
Well, why don't we answer as an official matter, you can.
I think we can arrange for a workshop like we did with PNC, and perhaps it would be more than one session so that we can create those visions and then determine how we get there.
Good.
Absolutely, we
That'd be fun.
recommend and see if we can get those meetings set up.
Okay.
Because I think, hopefully I won't be speaking out of turn here, but we're talking about this map right here. There's no reason why, I'm not 100% sure that we could overlay Jarrell Sweatner's area, and I have a growth pattern just as equal as this. And I deal with developers, you know, every day. I had 3 meetings with developers, come over 1,200 homes yesterday in this area. So we can overlay ours with the city, and, you know, basically we're combining all of my resources, the city's resources through, Jorge and like that, to where actually, you know, like I said, I'm majority on the east side, and I can let y'all, or let the board know exactly where our water lines are, what our future master plan is. I have up to 2050, and so, and it just got completed, so we know where we'll be at 2050 for a fact, so.
So I'd really put the zoning map just so that we would know today, where could we put somebody, either commercial, C1, C2, C3, or others that are in there, not that, getting more complicated, just kind of like, Tim was asking, where could we put something and go, well, I can tell you right now, you can't put it in anything in the yellow blocks and the green blocks and the orange blocks, because it's single family. But if you could set that up, Tanya, I think that would be wonderful, great.
I agree along that vein, Joe, getting some direction from the city. The EDC formally had a lot of discussions, which we talked about at the last meeting, of having some kind of signage as you're entering into Jarrell, saying welcome to Jarrell. And I don't know where that stands, or even if the city council wants that.
It was ours, and I made an executive decision to shut that down for now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go back to, when I was on the ME board in 2008, we were talking about signage, okay? And there are some technical, legal issues, and then there's some expansion issues. So we kind of know where the south part of it could be, but if you get into textiles right away, you get into all kinds of stuff. Now, one of them that wasn't in the original discussion was using our bridges. There's nothing that says we can't do each one of our bridges, now that we've got nice new ones, get them in there and saying, welcome to Jarrell, and do all the good stuff. The other problem is going north, though, is that our city limits is not fixed. We don't have another city to the north of us that blocks us in from going any further north. So if you do put one in there today, in 10 years it becomes, well, why is there another sign, 10 miles inside the Jarrell city limit? So that is something I was going to bring up. I'm trying to read all the old documents that the previous board was doing and come up with what is it that we want to do. Obviously, we do need signage. The question there was, we'd always had the quarries that were more than willing to build whatever we wanted to have, and suddenly we were paying money to somebody that wasn't even from Central Texas to design some stuff, so, my part would be the next time you're driving around, look at the signs, signage for everybody else that's in there. So, but just keep that in mind as we go forward, because that obviously will be a budget item that we talk about going forward. What do we want to do? How much do we want to spend? How fixed should it be? Where do we want to put it? How much bang for the buck that we've got out there? Because I agree with you. I like Salados. I don't know if you've seen the bridges over Salado. Okay. So
Very
we've got-
nice.
That's really nice. I noticed that the other day, I was coming back,
Yes.
going, something, that's kind of really good looking, and so we've got 1, 2, 3 bridges at least so far, and we're gonna have the 310 bridge here pretty quick. So we could have 4 bridges with, welcome to Jarrell, Texas, whatever we want to on it, so. But there's plenty of money in the budget. Okay, again, the other one, I just said that because it had gotten a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the best way I can put it, so.
Yeah, I agree, a timeout, on that, just to get some clarification from the city, and also, what is the vision for that, to Joe's point?
Yeah, but I think it's great. I think signage is gonna be good, but you're right. So far right now, it's been a 17-year discussion as to where does it go? What does it look like, because again, the only fixed boundary that we've got is the south I-35 side. We can't go into the Georgia. Yeah, but moving north, as far as I'm concerned, the only block we've got going up there is, Temple. If we get up there, then we'll worry about sharing signs with them when we get up there, so.
So is this EDC or the city, does it have partnered with Opportunity Austin for the Williamson County Economic Development Partnership?
I got sent a memo from Jorge. Opportunity Austin is an option for us because it's not yet. Yeah. So as I get more information, I will start sending it to you. Okay, and then you can let me know what kinds of things that you would like to do with it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Of course, the first time it came up, Occupy Officer, Austin was like, okay, stay the hell down there. I don't want anything to do with you. But once you read the literature on it, it really.
What it is Adrian Cruz, which is out of Governor Abbott's office, a lot of the economic development opportunities come through the governor's office, and they distribute those out, and most of them go through Opportunity Austin. So Opportunity Austin used to be a part of the Austin Chamber. Now it's a completely separate.
Yeah.
Gary Farmer ran it for years and years and years. I think he just retired.
Yeah.
So what they do is they take that, and anybody that's a member of it, all these opportunities go out. So every opportunity that comes into the governor's office gets distributed to all of their partners, whether it's whatever city. And then we can look at them and say, this is something we like. And what Opportunity Austin will do for you is they don't just say, okay, here it is. They'll walk it all the way to the table. So they want that deal in Texas, so they'll work that thing for you all the way through and work with the city staff and whoever needs, and so it's like $5,000 a year to join that thing. It's money well spent.
Yeah, it really is. I've seen some of the data that came out on the couple of projects that I've seen are not really in our ballpark.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
who cares? If you get 50 of them and you find 1 or 2 that kind of fit in there, then we can go compete for them. So I've actually got that on the list of things that we would want a new executive director or whatever we want to call this person to do. So that's good. All right. Is there anything else anybody wants to discuss while we're still in the workshop? All right. If not, then I'm going to close the workshop and we will reopen the regular agenda items. The next item is discussion and consideration and possible action regarding the presentation by Aaron Farmer, the retail coach. We do have a contract Aaron forwarded, which is just the update of the 2024 contract that failed. You got it right?
Aaron's contract?
Yeah, he didn't send it to you?
No.
Okay, I'll take a look and see if I've got it, but I think the discussion we had is it's what, 20K a year? That was what he told me. I would think that it would be wise for us to start that back up so that we've got, not only the demographic data and the rest of it that's in there, but also get Aaron back to business doing, recruitment for us. But, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. To sign the contract.
Yeah, sign a contract with Aaron Farmer with a retail coach to represent Jarrell.
Do we have a second? Okay.
I
Motion.
second.
Huh?
I'll second.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, we've got a motion and a second, okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Passes 3-1.
Can I ask, what your thoughts are about that?
So for me, until we have that joint meeting with the city, I don't feel comfortable allocating $20,000 and that may not even be what they want us to do. So I'm not gonna spend the money until I know the avenue I'm driving down. So that's just mine.
Fair enough. Appreciate it. Understand why you're there, you know, but, you know, I think on one side, you know, getting some data isn't gonna hurt, you know, so.
I agree.
Okay, all right, so, item 4.2, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the approval of the minutes of the special JEDC meeting on March 5th. This is where, you know, I think that's in your packets. That was simply us meeting and nominating each other. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second? A second. All in favor say aye. Aye. We have unanimous approval on 4.2. 4.3, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the budget along with amendments. I was gonna do amendments and I decided not to until after you guys had a chance to look at the actual numbers to see what the budget was like. But I think some of it I will go through and start zeroing out things that absolutely aren't gonna be spent, just so that from a budgetary point of view, we know how much money is either going to be available to spend in this fiscal year or is going to drop into the balance sheet for the start of next year, based on what we've got. If nobody has a problem with that.
So do you need a motion to table that, or
Yeah, I would say, let's just have a motion to table it until next period.
so make a motion to table item 4.3?
Okay. Tim tables it. Got a second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we'll take it as unanimous. 4.4, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the city administrative services agreement. I think we gotta wait until Diane sends this current city services amendment agreement before we can take a look and make sure that it meets everything that we want it to have happen. So if Tim, you wanna do your thing again?
I make a motion to table 4.4.
Got a motion to table 4.4, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous, okay? There being no further business in front of this EDC meeting, we stand adjourned at 7:28 PM.